Yeah.
We are the leader of the free world. We are the only ones that can preserve the peace. And to do that, we must have strength.
This video is going to uncover and show you what CNN is never going to show you, what MSNBC is never going to tell you, what NPR will never touch. A dark secret that's crucial for you to know. It's behind everything that's happening now, shaking our colleges, our culture, our world. Stay tuned to the end so you don't miss what is going to be opened up. And I promise you, they will never tell you this. They'll keep hidden what they know. And we're going to open up what they don't know. The other realm that's behind it all. This is Jonathan Kahn. And first, three things. Number one, if you're not already getting this, to not miss the prophetic messages that I'm going to post here, hit subscribe. Number two, send this video to those in your life who need to see it and know it. Number three, update. The third manuscript draft of the Dragon's Prophecy, Israel, the Dark Resurrection, and the End of the Age is just about finished. About 120 days from this posting, it will be released, the Dragon's Prophecy. To be the first to get it, just go to Amazon or wherever you get books, and you can secure your copy. All right. What is going on? What's going on is not stopping. These are prophetic days. In just the past few weeks, we almost saw a major war begin, what could have been a world war. And for the first time, we saw Iran attack Israel directly with over 300 missiles and drones. And now, as we post this, something many never thought they would ever see. America has been exploding with hatred against Israel for the first time ever. It's exploding on college campuses all over the nation. In Columbia, here in New York, in the Ivy League, Harvard, Yale, in the University of Southern California, in the University of Texas, in George Washington University.
I'm going to get hell out of the United States.
Where they draped the statue of George Washington with a Palestinian flag all over the nation. A wave of anti-Israel and anti-Semitic rage. In Columbia University, the protesters announced, Zionists have entered the camp. We don't want no Zionists here. Throughout the universities of America, they chanted, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. What does that mean? From the river to the sea is where Israeli citizens live. That's Israel. It means they want every Jewish person in Israel to be eliminated from the land or dead. Others chanted, from the river to the sea, Palestine is Arab. It'd be like people shouting, from California to Boston, America is white. And the colleges have had little problem with it. See, protesters have chanted to bomb Tel Aviv. Others chanted, we are Hamas. Others chanted, Hamas, make us proud, kill another soldier now. And the colleges didn't do much. The University of Southern California, the protesters found Jewish students wearing Jewish symbols. They ripped them off of them. At the Ivy League Yale University, pro-Hamas students attacked Jewish students. In one campus, they shouted, long live Hamas, death to the Jews. And what did the universities do? Not much. And mostly, they did something only when they were exposed for not doing anything. Imagine if the protesters had shouted death to other groups. Now, listen to this one. In one campus, the protesters shouted, never forget the 7th of October. Sounds good. As like a reminder of the atrocities Hamas committed on the Israelis. But that wasn't what they were saying. They said, never forget the 7th of October. It will happen 10,000 more times. The 7th of October will be every day for you. Talking to Jewish students. College students across America celebrated and cheered for Hamas and for the slaughter of innocent Israeli citizens on October 7th. And what did the universities do? Not much. One demonstrator had a sign with a Palestinian flag and the words, "Final Solution," referring to Hitler's final solution of annihilating the Jews in the Holocaust. This is not your grandparents' peace rally of the 1960s. This is something else, another animal altogether, much darker. The leader of the anti-Israel demonstrations at Columbia was questioned by the faculty about what he said about Zionists. Now first, who are Zionists? Zionism simply means, or Zionist, that you are for the return of the Jewish people to Zion or Israel. They have the right to do that, and for Israel to exist. That makes every prophet of the Bible a Zionist. That makes the Apostle Paul a Zionist. That makes the 12 disciples Zionists. That makes the Virgin Mary a Zionist. That makes Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah, a Zionist. That makes God a Zionist. Well, they questioned him about Zionism, Zionist. And you know what he said? He said, Zionists, quote, do not deserve to live. And if he could kill them, he would. He didn't have any immediate plans to do so, but he believed they should all be dead. And what did the faculty who questioned him do? They asked him, and I quote, "What resources do you feel are available to you here at Columbia?" What resources do you feel are available? It's like Adolf Hitler shows up on campus and says, "I want to kill all the Jews." And the faculty asked him, "Adolf, what resources do you feel are available for you here at Columbia?" "Well, I'd like some resources of some gas chambers and some cyclone tablets, some cyanide gas, that we can gas all the Jews." Now, can you imagine if somebody at Columbia or almost any of the universities said, liberals don't deserve to live, or LGBT people, or women, or black or Latino, you fill in the blank. How many minutes do you think it would take them to expel that person? In fact, if someone said that they couldn't even call a transgender biological male a woman, just that, do you know what would have happened? They would have been punished. And if they refused to change, they would be banned from that college. But this one says that Zionists, fill in Jews for that, don't deserve to live. And do they ban him? No, they ask him if he feels that he has the resources available to him. And this is the one who was leading the demonstration at Columbia. You want to know what kind of spirit is behind this? You've got it right there. And what did Columbia do after he said this and even posted him saying it online? Virtually nothing. It was only after it became public and it was exposed in the media, after the demonstrations, only then that Columbia suddenly decided that they couldn't have him on campus anymore, only because they were exposed. But you know what was exposed? This exposes the total bankruptcy of wokeism. Diversity, inclusion, tolerance, equity. Apparently not when you're a Jew, not when you're an Israeli. They'll talk about microaggressions. If you do anything, say anything that could offend somebody's sensibility in any way, if you use the wrong terminology, the wrong pronoun, if it offends wokeism, that's a big crime. But if you're a Jew or an Israeli, it's okay to call for your death or to allow calls for your death. We're good with that. In fact, we can celebrate murder. How bankrupt can you get when you can rejoice over the rape, torture, and mutilation of innocent Israeli fathers, mothers, and children? Do you know what all the woke and left-wing activists said in the wake of Hamas's slaughter of innocent Israeli families? Nothing. Do you know what all the woke left-wing radical feminist women's rights groups said about the brutal sexual abuse, rape, and murder of Israeli women? Nothing. Do you know what all the woke and left-wing children's rights organizations said about all the Israeli children who were tortured, murdered, beheaded, and burned? Nothing. And when they slaughtered all those families and all those young people at that concert, where were all the young people and faculty and professors of the young people at Harvard and Yale and Columbia and all the other institutions? Did they demonstrate about it? No. Did they show their support? No. Did they even mention it? No. Instead, they shouted Hamas the murderers who did it. And you know what the United Nations said in view of the atrocities? Virtually nothing. These groups could hardly find a word of criticism for Hamas until they were forced to. But they jumped at condemning Israel. This is not normal, and it's not natural. Something else is going on. The Bible says, woe to you who call evil good and good evil. And the truth is, it's not just that the colleges have allowed this and only don't allow it when they're exposed on the web or by Senate committees. The truth is, they're behind it because they set it in motion. Because this is the gospel of wokeness. This is what they're teaching the students. That Western civilization is evil, that Christianity is evil, that America is evil, that men are evil, that male and female as a reality is evil. And you're going to send your children to these organizations and pay them your fortunes to indoctrinate them into their own image and undo everything you've spent years teaching them to do, Christians, conservatives. If anything, this has exposed the utter bankruptcy of wokeism, the utter amorality of it. So much for safe spaces and so much for microaggressions for sensitivity, so much for inclusivity. Leave it to the issue of Israel and the Jew to expose the golden calf that's been erected for this generation. The idol has feet of clay. Wokeism rails against what they call white colonialism or privilege, which is a rebranded form of Marxist ideology. There's not a lot of white colonialism these days, so what do they target? Of all nations, they target Israel. They call Israel a colonial power. It's amazing. If any people have been the victims of colonial powers or empires longer than any other people, it's the Jewish people. It's Israel. From the Egyptian Empire, the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, the Islamic empires, the Spanish Empire, the Russian Empire, and on
Clarity
and
up,
on
man.
and on.
This is the Jonathan Kahn, man. This is crazy.
At the end of colonialism, as in the British
Wow.
Empire, when it withdrew from the Middle East. The greatest oppressed, persecuted, slaughtered people in the history of this planet. They picked the one nation of all nations that came into existence for the purpose of protecting its people from annihilation that rose up out of the ashes of the Holocaust. Those are the geniuses of wokeness. Now we need to pray for all people, love all people, and also at the same time oppose evil. One innocent life lost is a tragedy for many people, and we're not to rejoice over it. The tragedy is when all the Israeli villagers and young people and families were killed. The Gaza Strip and the West Bank was filled with celebrations over their murders. The tragedy is that the majority of people in Gaza approved of what Hamas did to the Israeli families. And after all this, they were still in favor of Hamas ruling. Hamas has destroyed Gaza as well as everything else. They've robbed it of its food supplies, of its humanitarian aid. It's a sickness, it's a darkness that is destroying the Palestinians. Hamas has been a key part of that. The Israelis don't want war, they hate it. They want peace, but they're the only nation in the world that's not allowed to protect itself against a terrorist organization that is bent on its destruction. Imagine if this happened to America. Well, it did. It was called 9/11. It led us to engage not in one war, but two wars. And in just one of them, the numbers of civilian deaths is estimated to be over 100,000 people. We fought in the Second World War. It's considered the most moral of wars against Hitler. In that war, how many civilians died? The number is estimated at 38 million. But compared to its population, what happened to Israel would be as if in America, terrorists living on our borders invaded America, went into thousands of American homes, tortured, raped, mutilated, burned, and slaughtered 44,000 Americans, fathers, mothers, children, and babies.